Good afternoon. This is Henry Keane and a daily wrap-up on Freedom TV channel. With Russian invasion of Ukraine now in its 10th month, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has numerously urged the international community to create a special tribunal for the crime of aggression in order to prosecute Russia's political and military leadership. The move reflects concerns that existing international criminal courts is unable to hold the Kremlin fully accountable for Russian crimes committed in Ukraine.
The majority in support of the draft resolution of the UN General Assembly regarding to the special tribunal. We must develop the necessary legal architecture to make the tribunal work. We must fully implement this clause of our peace formula and really ensure justice after this war, just as after the Second World War.
The Netherlands confirmed its readiness to host the future tribunal in The Hague. The Hague seems to be the right place for it. It's quite symbolic. During 1993 to 2017, The Hague hosted the International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, which could become the prototype of Special International Tribunal for Russia. The District Court of The Hague led a case during 2020 to 2022 regarding the downing of a passenger plane of flight MH17 and established responsibility for the crime of Russian-controlled militants. Although the International Criminal Court has been in operation in The Hague since 2002 and is competent to investigate genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity, the creation of this special international tribunal is politically supported by the European Parliament, the parliamentary assemblies of the Council of Europe, the OSCE and NATO, and the parliaments of several countries. The crime of aggression, which will be investigated by the Special International Tribunal, is the easiest to prove and bring charges directly against the sinners of the Kremlin regime.
The only thing that has provoked Putin to a barbaric aggression is the heart of Europe, is confidence in complete impunity. He felt this way for many years and was convinced that everything would work out. The only way to stop this once and for all is to create a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. He will be able to bring Russia's top political and military leadership to justice. Dmytro Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
Recently, the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine has released a report on the war crimes of Russia in Ukraine, which contains evidence of numerous executions and torture of civilians. In Europe, many correct things are said. Not all of them happen in reality, but don't get us wrong. We all know that Putin is a war criminal. It's just that we in Ukraine want the world to understand. If the tribunal for any reason won't happen in The Hague, then, well, it will happen in Kiev, no doubt. Rumor has it that Ukrainian and American Patriots will meet soon. I mean, of course, the American Patriot air defense system, which, quite possibly, our army will soon receive from the United States side.
What I've seen with my own eyes, the Ukrainians are making very good use of all of the weaponry that they've been provided. I can say that the things that the United States and Western Europe has provided to Ukraine, those things are getting to the places where they need to go, and they are being used in accordance with our game plan, our philosophy.
While the negotiations are in progress, outside the official offices and corridors, not two patriotic voices are heard every now and then. Like the Ukrainians will, as usual, plunder it and sell it all as usual. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I mean, our human ability to vilify literally everything. Sometimes it seems to me that if we, in the midst of this nightmare that is happening now in Ukraine, Jesus Christ himself will descend from the skies in sparkling clothes, the same people who spread rumors about the stolen Patriots will approach him and ask for an ID. And God forbid, God just doesn't have the papers right. They will crucify him again, just to stay on the safe side. Well, even if we do not take into account the fact that Ukrainians, perhaps for the first time in their world history, within a day after the invasion, turned from a population into a nation, refuting every single forecast of every single World War expert. Even if we do not take into account this very incredible in scale fact and address the author of these blasphemous rumors, I just can't help myself to ask only one thing. Have you ever seen the Patriot system in action? Plunder what? This? Then what? Resell it? I mean, maybe you know someone who knows someone in ISIS. Otherwise, Patriot air defense system is exactly one of those things that has a huge and zero value at the same time, depending on who's owning it. Not a single piece of weaponry sent to us by the United States was lost, sold, or stolen. The evidence is indisputable. Go check on that to the other side of the front line. Go ask Putin and his generals, who, in a figurative sense, were burning with the desire to destroy Ukraine, but because of American, German, French, Italian, Swedish, Latvian, and other weaponry from the world, were burned to ashes, quite literally.
The peak of our losses was in May. The advantage of the enemy then was the greatest, especially in the Donbas direction. They used up to 1,000 artillery shells per hour. It was intense pressure, and we didn't have the opportunity to respond to them. We didn't have that many shots. Fortunately, after they gradually began to change the picture, thanks to the 155 caliber weapons. First went 777s, or 3Xs as they are called. Then went M109, Caesars, Panzerhaubitze, and so on, and it made a real difference. Minister of Defense of Ukraine Alexei Reznikov in an interview with the BBC.
So, dear world, Ukraine thanks you for your unity, much appreciates your military and other aid, and assures you that all the weapons are used for only one purpose, solely one purpose, to expel the invaders as quickly as possible, to restore peace and order in Europe. Today, in Ukraine, we honor the day of those who took part to liquidate the horrific aftermath of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster 36 years ago. The accident known as the world's worst nuclear disaster occurred on April 26, 1986, at the fourth reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, just 10 miles away from the city of Pripyat. After the explosion, a sarcophagus, a huge concrete cover, was built around the power station that protected the nuclear reactor from any outer influence and should have protected people outside from the influence of the radioactive substance. Still, many people died. So, who but Ukrainians will know everything about the dangers of misuse of nuclear power plants? That is why nuclear security is one of the conditions of Zelensky's peace formula. Because, knowing Russians, nothing good would have happened while Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant was in their possession. Radiation danger loomed over the south of Ukraine. Radiation is quite indiscriminate, you know. It will kill anyone in Kiev, Moscow, Europe, so the safety of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is one of the priorities. The International Atomic Energy Agency insists on the same.
My commitment is to reach a solution as soon as possible. Our goal is to avoid a nuclear accident, not to create a military advantage for one side or the other. Sides reached agreement on some fundamental principles. The first is protection. This means accepting that you are not shooting at or from the object. The second is the recognition that International Atomic Energy Agency is the only possible way to ensure the safety of nuclear power plants. Rafael Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, in the interview with the La Repubblica.
We in Ukraine very much believe that nuclear safety should be the first step to other equally important steps. Those of food security, energy security, the return of war prisoners, and deported persons, implementation of the United Nations Charter, and full restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity, full and absolute withdrawal of Russian troops, and cessation of hostilities, restoration of justice, countering ecocide, preventing escalation, and ensuring that aggression does not repeat. This is why we, the people of Ukraine, call on all states of the world to support President Zelensky's peace formula.
I am asking you to preserve this level of solidarity for the next year. Russia continues its aggression, and therefore the support for Ukraine must be continued next year, just as it was this year. But we must also take long-awaited steps to accelerate the coming of peace.
We want to engage not only Europe, but other nations in the global south so that peace formula becomes a universal, not only Western vision for peace. Every nation can choose elements of the formula and work together with us, with Ukraine, on implementing them. We believe that this initiative should become worldwide. The peace formula opens a window of opportunity for every country and leader to show political leadership on both regional and world stage. And again, full restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity within internationally recognized borders is non-negotiable. We can clearly see that Russia is not ready for real peace negotiations, as Putin only seeks a pause to recover and prepare for new brutal assaults later on. This is why Ukraine will never, and I mean never, accept peace at any price. Because the price is Ukraine itself. It was Henry Keane and our daily wrap-up on Freedom TV channel. See you tomorrow.